You ever notice how some older men walk into a room and instantly shift the energy without even saying a word? They're not chasing attention, they're not trying too hard. Yet, younger women can't help but be drawn to them. And it's not because of money, status, or looks alone. It's something deeper. It's the way they carry themselves, the way they flirt without seeming like they're flirting. There's a quiet edge to it, like a man who knows time is on his side, not against him. Welcome to Stoic Reflections, where timeless Stoic wisdom meets real-world psychology to help you become magnetic without the noise. See, younger men try to impress. They flex, they joke too much, they overcompensate. But an older man who's mastered himself doesn't play that game. His presence alone is enough to make her curious. He doesn't need to win her. He makes her lean in, wondering what he's about. That mystery, that subtle pull, is more intoxicating to her than any cheap pickup line ever could be. What we're talking about here are not cheesy tactics or scripted moves. These are psychological triggers rooted in how women naturally respond to masculine energy. Backed by evolutionary psychology, sharpened by experience, and polished by a Stoic mindset. I'm going to break down the 7 most powerful flirting tricks older men use. The ones that don't just spark attraction, but build desire. And if you understand them, you'll never look at flirting the same way again. Here's the truth most guys don't want to admit. When it comes to flirting, younger men usually shoot themselves in the foot. They confuse loud energy with confidence, constant jokes with charm, and non-stop compliments with attraction. But to a younger woman, it feels needy. It feels like he's auditioning for her approval. And the moment she senses that, she pulls back. Because desire doesn't come from a man proving himself. It comes from a man who doesn't need to. This is where older men flip the script. They're not competing for attention. They're not trying to be the loudest voice in the room. Instead, they let silence do the heavy lifting. They understand that a pause before speaking can be more powerful than a rushed compliment. They know that eye contact, calm, unshaken, steady, says more than a rehearsed line ever could. It's not that they don't flirt. They flirt in a way that's so subtle, so grounded, it feels dangerous. And women crave that edge. Think about it like this. A young man is like a firework, loud, flashy, but gone in seconds. An older man is like a fireplace, warm, steady, magnetic, something you can sit with for hours. That's the challenge most men face today. They're busy trying to be fireworks when women secretly crave the fire that lasts. And here's the brutal part. If you don't learn this shift, you'll always come off as the guy who tries too hard. You'll be remembered as the noise in the background, not the man she can't stop thinking about. So the real question is this: what are those subtle tricks older men use that make women lean in instead of pulling away? That's what we're about to break down. Flirting trick 1. The power of presence. In a world full of noise, silence is power. But not empty silence, anchored silence, the kind that steadies the room and makes others hold their breath. Most men can't sit across from a woman without fidgeting. Their eyes dart. Their words tumble out too fast. Their energy screams insecurity. But the man of presence, he does none of that. He doesn't chase. He doesn't rush. He lets the air bend around him. His calm is louder than their noise. His stillness says everything. I'm not here because I need you. I'm here because I choose to be. Psychology confirms it. Women don't crave the flood of attention. They crave the quality of it. A steady gaze, a pause before speaking, the patience to listen without hunger in the eyes. These things spark both safety and intrigue. Younger men confuse excitement with attraction. They force it, they overcompensate. They become fireworks, loud, flashy, gone in seconds. But an older man is different. He is a fireplace, warm, steady, magnetic. The kind of presence you don't just notice, you feel. And here's the secret. Presence cannot be faked. You can wear the watch, drive the car, memorize the lines. But if your soul is restless, she feels it instantly. Yet when you are grounded, when you sit like a mountain that does not move for storms, she feels that too, not in her mind, but in her body. That's why presence is the first and greatest power. In a world where every man is screaming for attention, the man who needs no audience becomes unforgettable. Because true presence doesn't chase desire, it creates it. Flirting trick 2. The subtle tease of contrast. Attraction is born in contrast. It's the push and the pull, the warmth and the distance. The dance between what is given and what is withheld. Without contrast, there is no tension. Without tension, there is no desire. Younger men rarely understand this. They pour endlessly. Compliments spill from their mouths, jokes tumble one after another. They flood her with attention, thinking more is better. But what they really do is suffocate the spark before it can breathe. The fire dies in the smoke of their desperation. An older man moves differently. He knows the rhythm. He doesn't chase, he paces. He offers just enough warmth to draw her near, then steps back into composure. He doesn't give her the whole story. He gives her fragments, glimpses, just enough to keep her guessing. And that guessing becomes obsession. It's not manipulation, it's mastery, like a symphony that grips you not with constant sound, but with the silence between the notes. Like a painting that captivates not by filling every corner, but by leaving space for the imagination. Psychologists call this the intermittent reinforcement effect. Casinos are built on it. Not constant reward, but unpredictable reward. The rush of not knowing when the payoff will come, that's what makes it addictive. Relationships work the same way. So when she teases, he doesn't leap like every younger man, scrambling for approval. He waits. He lets the silence stretch. A slow grin spreads across his face. Then he delivers a line, short, sharp, deliberate. It's enough to intrigue her, but not enough to satisfy her. And that gap is what makes her lean closer. Here's the truth. The tease only works if you're unafraid of rejection. Most men can't handle that. They crumble at the thought of not being liked, so they overcompensate. They shower her with validation, starving her of mystery. But the older man doesn't need her approval. He doesn't beg for her acceptance. He risks the silence. He risks being misunderstood. And that risk, that unshakable composure, is what makes him unforgettable. Because mystery isn't created by giving everything away. It's created by holding something. Flirting trick 3. The power of slowed down presence. Time is a weapon most men never learn to wield. They rush, they stumble over words, they fill silence with noise. They think speed shows confidence, but in truth, it exposes insecurity. An older man knows better. He has lived long enough to understand that when you slow down, you take control. You bend the tempo of the room. You dictate the rhythm of interaction. And without realizing it, she begins to move to your pace, not hers. This isn't theory. Psychology confirms it. Studies show that slower speech, measured pauses, and deliberate movements signal authority. Think of the difference between a nervous intern spilling words in a meeting and a seasoned leader who waits, lets the silence breathe, and then speaks with weight. One is forgotten, the other commands respect. Attraction works the same way. Picture her, excited, words bubbling, energy racing. A younger man would mirror her speed, scrambling to keep up. But the man of presence does the opposite. He leans back. He locks eyes. He answers with calm, deliberate words. Suddenly, she slows down too. Her rhythm adjusts. She's no longer in control of the tempo. He is. That is leadership in disguise. That is power without force. And here's the hidden truth. Women associate speed with insecurity, the rush to respond, the eagerness to fill every gap, the frantic energy. It all screams neediness. But slowing down, that says, I have nothing to prove. I am not chasing. I am not rushing. I am the mountain you will climb to meet me. This is why an older man's presence feels magnetic. His stillness bends time itself. His calm pace draws her deeper, because in his rhythm she feels something she cannot explain. Security, strength, gravity. And gravity doesn't chase, it pulls. Flirting trick 4. The subtle tease of withholding validation. Most men give away their power in the first 5 minutes. They drown her in praise. They laugh at everything she says. They hand out validation like cheap candy. At first, she smiles, but soon it feels predictable, safe, boring. The older man knows better. He understands that desire isn't born from constant approval. It's born from tension. The kind of tension that comes when validation is rare, deliberate, and earned. Imagine this. She throws a playful jab, expecting the usual eager response. Most men would rush to assure her she's clever, funny, beautiful. But the older man? He pauses, he smirks, maybe tilts his head, as if he's still deciding whether her joke was even worth acknowledging. And then, with surgical precision, he drops a short, dry line. That's the best you've got. In that moment, something flips. She feels the spark, not because he handed her praise, but because he didn't. He made her work for it. Psychology explains this simply. Scarcity creates value. What's given too easily loses its worth. What's earned becomes unforgettable. When a man gives endless compliments, she knows exactly where she stands, and mystery dies. But when approval comes sparingly, when she has to earn it, she leans in. She invests more. She chases what cannot be bought cheaply. This is not arrogance. It's self-respect. A man who values himself doesn't hand his energy to everyone. He doesn't give the same smile to every woman. He chooses carefully. And women can feel that difference. It doesn't feel cruel. It feels rare, special, worth fighting for. Think of it like this. Fast food is everywhere. Easy, predictable, forgettable. But a vintage wine, aged by time, carried with patience, you savor it. You remember it. You crave it again. That is the power of withholding validation. It flips the dynamic. She is no longer being chased. She is now the one leaning closer, seeking that nod, that grin, that rare approval he gives so carefully. Because what is scarce becomes priceless, and what is priceless is never forgotten. Flirting trick 5. The power of controlled silence. Most men fear silence. They rush to fill it, with chatter, with jokes, with explanations. They believe that if the conversation slows, she will lose interest. But the truth is the opposite. When used correctly, silence is not weakness. Silence is dominance. Picture this. She asks a question. Maybe something playful, maybe something challenging. A younger man would stumble to answer instantly, desperate to impress, desperate to prove himself. But the older man? He waits. He holds her gaze. He lets the air stretch a few seconds longer than she expects. That pause unsettles her, but it also pulls her in. Because in that moment she realizes he isn't performing. He isn't scrambling to win her approval. He is comfortable in the tension that silence creates. And that comfort radiates power. Psychologists call this non-reactivity. It's one of the purest signals of status. The ability to stay unshaken when others expect you to move. When you own silence, you're telling her, I don't need to prove myself. I don't fear your judgment. I am enough as I am. Most men she meets are hyperactive, constant texting, constant talking, constant effort. They sell themselves like products on display. But the man who can sit still, let silence breathe and remain calm. He feels like a rock in the middle of chaos, immovable, grounded, unshakable. And here's the paradox. Silence isn't empty. Silence speaks. It says, "I am not chasing." If you want more, lean closer. That unspoken challenge makes her reveal more, invest more, talk more. Without saying a word, he draws her in deeper. Controlled silence is gravity. It doesn't shout, it doesn't chase. It simply exists and pulls everything toward it. Because words may impress, but silence reveals power. Flirting trick 6. The magnetic force of playful unpredictability. Routine kills desire. Predictability is safe, but it isn't exciting. A woman may feel comfortable with what she can fully predict, but she never feels alive in it. And that's where most men fail. They become an open book, easy to read, easy to forget. An older man knows better. He understands that attraction thrives on surprise. Not chaos, not childish games, but subtle unpredictability. The kind that keeps her guessing, the kind that sparks her curiosity again and again. Imagine this. She expects the usual compliment about her outfit. Instead, he pauses. His eyes scan her, then a half smirk. That's dangerous. No explanation, no backtracking. Just a line that lingers in the air, daring her to interpret it. Or maybe she teases him, expecting defense or flattery. But he doesn't bite. He laughs, leans back and says calmly, "You'll have to do better than that." Suddenly, the script she rehearsed in her head no longer works. He's not reacting like the others, he's rewriting the scene. The psychology here is clear. Unpredictability triggers anticipation, and anticipation releases dopamine, the same chemical tied to reward and desire. Casinos are built on it, stories are written with it, and women are drawn to men who embody it. But here's the key. Unpredictability without grounding feels unstable. If it comes from insecurity, it feels like chaos. But when it comes from a man anchored in himself, it feels like intrigue. He doesn't need to shock or perform. He simply breaks patterns with confidence, and that disruption becomes magnetic. Younger men are fireworks, loud, predictable, gone in a flash. The older man is lightning in a storm. You never know where it will strike, but when it does, you feel it in your bones. Because the unknown doesn't repel her, it awakens her. Flirting trick 7, the stoic depth that makes you unforgettable. Attraction may begin with charm, presence or playfulness, but it never lasts without depth. And this is where most men fail. They can make her laugh, they can keep her entertained, but they can't touch her soul. An older man knows this truth. He carries more than clever words. He carries weight, a stillness, a mystery that makes her wonder what storms he has survived, what scars he hides, what wisdom he protects in silence. Picture this. She's laughing, teasing, expecting the usual shallow game. Then suddenly, he shifts. His gaze steadies, his tone softens. He asks, "What do you really want out of all this?" Or, "When was the last time you felt truly free?" He doesn't explain. He doesn't rush. He lets the silence carry the question like thunder rolling across the sky. That moment will haunt her. Because now, she isn't just flirting. She is being seen. Not her mask, not her performance, her. Psychology calls this emotional intensity. The spark created when light-hearted play collides with raw truth. Women crave it because so few men can give it. Most never dare to go deeper. But the man who does, he is remembered forever. Seneca once said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." That is why older men feel magnetic. Their depth is not theory, it's forged from fire. Their silence carries storms. Their eyes reveal battles fought and survived. Younger women don't lean toward older men for money or status. They lean toward depth, toward the mystery of a man who has lived, suffered, endured, and yet stands calm. Because charm may catch her attention, but depth captures her soul, and the soul never forgets. So, here's the truth. Younger women don't lean toward older men because of cars, clothes, or money. Those fade. What endures is presence, contrast, restraint, silence, unpredictability, and depth. These are not tricks. They are the natural expression of a man who has lived, endured, and mastered himself. And that's the mission of Stoic Reflections, to strip away the noise, to sharpen the mind, and to help you embody the timeless strength that makes you magnetic without trying. Because women don't remember the man who begged for attention. They remember the man who didn't need it. They don't crave the one who tried to impress them. They crave the one who carried himself like a storm wrapped in silence. So ask yourself, are you playing the boys' game of chasing approval, or are you walking the Stoic path of calm authority? If this message struck something within you, don't just nod and move on. Subscribe to Stoic Reflections, where we turn timeless philosophy into modern power. And share your thoughts in the comments. Which of these 7 truths do you need to master first? Because in the end, attraction doesn't belong to the man who runs after it. It belongs to the man who becomes gravity itself. And gravity doesn't chase, it pulls.